Oh, hello. It's good to see you. I have a few questions for you today. Raise your hand if you have ever felt like you were reinventing the wheel. Raise your hand if you have ever thought that it would be helpful to know more about what happened before you joined your ministry, such as what they focused on, what their challenges were, what events or initiatives they began, and how successful they were. Raise your hand if you've ever felt like it was difficult to keep track of everything in this big church that changes leaders and volunteers every few years. I'm just a pre-recorded voice, so I don't know how many hands were raised, but I do know this. You are not alone. I've got good news for you. Did you know that South Church has a number of resources that will help answer your questions? Some of them are up to your ministry team to create and update, but others are already available to you. Let's start with the ones that are already available. Every year, South Church creates an annual report. This is available through the church office as a hard copy or electronic version that can be emailed to you. The annual report is helpful because it will tell you what your ministry team focused on last year, which it might be a refresher or it might inspire your ministry together in the coming year. It will also tell you what other teams do. Like if you've heard of Christian Service but you don't know exactly what they do, you can look in the annual report to find out. You'll learn that they hosted 15 receptions, they delivered meals to families who were ill or grieving, they sent cards, called, or visited almost 90 families. Everything you ever wanted to know about them is in this one-page report. The annual report definitely gives you a better understanding of all the ministry that South Church does. The annual report is also helpful because it tells you all the church officers and the names of every member serving on every team ministry and advisory committee. It's your go-to resource for contacting other people or even for remembering who is serving on your team and how long they've been serving. The church bylaws are another helpful document. They give us the high-level view of how we function and who we are. They tell each team what their basic role is in the church and how that fits in with everything else. If you've ever sat in a meeting and wondered, what are we supposed to be doing? The bylaws are a good place to answer that question. They're also available through the office, printed out, or electronically. The third document that is available through the office is our Safe Church Policy. This is important for every team to be familiar with, whether or not you volunteer with children and youth, because it also includes information like our first response team in case of emergency and our fire procedures. It is full of the things we hope we don't need to know, but we are glad we are familiar with in case something happens. The fourth and final document that is available to you through the office and also through the South Church website is the Global Mission Action Plan. This is important because many of our team ministries are responsible for global mission goals over the next 2 years. If you don't know what your team committed to, this is where you can go to find out and to keep updated on what other people are doing. These are all the documents that have been prepared and approved by the congregation. They are already compiled and ready to use. There is one last document that is critical in helping your team and you succeed this year. That is your team's handbook. I bet you are having two reactions right now. You either have a small smile on your face because your team has and uses a handbook regularly, hooray for the trustees and the deacons, or you are asking yourself, what's that? Don't worry, these are still relatively new. Handbooks are considered a best practice for helping teams keep track of responsibilities over the years, even as people rotate on and off your team. Handbooks are unique to each team and are your responsibility to keep updated, relevant, and useful. Some teams have found it helpful to assign 1 to 2 people to take the initiative to update their handbooks each year and approve the revisions or additions with the rest of the team. Handbooks are daunting when you don't have one, but they provide major assistance and security once they are in place. If you are working on creating one, start small and expand over time. Pick one thing that is important to carry from year to year. Maybe it is just your team minutes. Maybe it's a copy of your annual report. Maybe it's a list of past team members. Pick one thing and build on it. Soon you will have a fully functional notebook that sustains your work together and orients new members. One more word on handbooks. It is incredibly helpful to store a copy of your handbook in multiple places and ways. Make sure someone on your team is responsible for it. Make sure the office has a copy, and make sure it's available electronically. That way, if your team chair gets tired of winter and moves to Florida without telling anyone, you don't have to reinvent the wheel again. Any questions about any of these topics?